So now we've made it to impact, which many of you will believe is the moment of truth. And of course, the golf ball gets its information from impact, so it does matter. However, impact can often just be a product of what's preceded it, what's happened in the backswing, and often the downswing will then determine what your impact position looks like. But there's still value in understanding what you should be looking for at impact. The most simple way to say this would be that at impact, from a wrist perspective, you want to have more wrist flexion than you had at setup. So the shaft would lean more forward. That would allow you to close the face to the shaft, as we described previously, get that nice shaft lean look, good contact, and hit that more powerful shot. The way that I would often get a player to feel this would be to build it in at setup. We talked about that in video number 2. But there's also going to be a drill that you can do at impact to enhance the likelihood of you delivering the correct wrist angles at impact. So what do I mean? Take our normal setup, that's that 15, 16 degrees of extension, and then move the handle more forward and up. You'll remember that from earlier. That gives me a sense there, that small amount of flexion that my wrist is in, it gives me a sense of how I'd want this to feel at impact. Okay, it gives me a sense of what I'd be looking for. So handle more forward and up. That's a nice sense of how the wrist should be when I hit the ball. Now the drill that I would prescribe for the player struggling with this would be to start out making small backswings, hitting the ball and stopping as soon as they can after impact, while retaining as much of that lead wrist flexion as they can. This is like a long chip and run shot, a long punch shot. So that would look like this. Stopping almost immediately after impact, where the wrist feels like it's stayed in all of that flexion. Now, the HackMotion graph there is showing me that I was in too much flexion at the top and too much flexion at impact. That's great. I want to see those numbers if I'm a slicer, because you see what that does to the ball. Helps the ball to curve from right to left and gives me that draw shape. So the exercise you're trying to do is putting that lead wrist flexion at setup, push the handle forward and up, and deliver the club with what feels like a very similar amount of flexion, really as much as you can. The data will tell you whether you're doing too much. The ball flight will ultimately tell you if you're doing too much. But if you're a slicer, someone who struggles to curve the ball at all from right to left, seeing that shot when you practice is very encouraging. You could gradually build up with this exercise, so keep pushing the boundaries of this, going further each time, going faster each time, while still trying to retain the sensation of the maximum flexion just after impact. So I'll hit this one a little further. This would be the progression of this drill. You'd make a bigger backswing. Okay, I'd go further back, but I'd still try to hit the ball with this maximum flexion feeling. I'll go ahead and hit one of those. I'm still trying to stop pretty quickly after impact. The likelihood is you won't be able to stop as quickly because there's more speed coming out. But again, you see that ball flight, that curve from right to left. I was able to produce the flexion. Again, the HackMotion data telling me it's far too much. And you'll see there on the ball flight that ball's curving too much to the left. I don't need to do this drill. I already hit a draw naturally. So when I exaggerate these feels, I close the face too much and I hook it. For you, that would be a wonderful shot for you to look at and see on the driving range when you hit the balls. And in order to achieve that, you're going to want to go for maximum flexion at impact and just after. Try that exercise and see how you get on. I'd encourage you to start out with that, doing this exercise with a smaller, shorter club to begin with. This was a 7-iron. You can use this for the driver ultimately, and we'll get into the driver later. But suffice to say, starting out with a slightly slower, smaller swing, you'd benefit from doing this with a shorter iron to begin with. This is one of my favorite drills. I call this the hit hard, stop quick drill, and it really helps to train good club face control, good shaft lean, and ideal impact alignments.